Hi, everybody. Welcome to Everyone's Doing Better Than Me. I'm your host, Eve Ellenbogen, and I'm here with my friend who's mad at me, Katharyn.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is then you start talking and then I'm like, oh, it's like you're watching like a shooting star. So, then I'm just like, oh, this isn't going to even last that long. Like, like how can I contain like art, like this beautiful creature that's just like floating through this world? Like, I can't, just because I'm a dick who's like, we're running out of time. Like, because I'm in a bad place, like.
That was so funny. I was like running around and like just did stupid shit. Like I was trying to wash my coffee mug and then like the water wasn't getting hot. So I used the kettle water. And then I was like, wait, now I can't make the coffee until I boil more water. Like just stupid shit. And I'm like, and I was trying to listen to like audio clips of or whatever, YouTube clips of Erika, who's our guest. We'll talk about it in a minute. But I was just like running around and like whatever. And you're like, we only have 27 minutes until she starts. We only have 27. And I was like, oh my God, I thought that you wanted to shorten it anyway. But it's okay. That was our first fight. It lasted about 30 seconds.
And no speaking was done actually during it. I think that was sort of the funny part is I was like, we're not going to say anything. And then this will begin and then it will be done, and then it is sort of a beautiful thing. It's not like, this is what happened to me. You've been telling me, journal and like, everyone's like, right. Like even my mom, you know what I mean? Everybody's like, write about my mom last night. I'm bringing this up just to kind of passive aggressively jab at you. I'm bringing up my mother.
Oh, wow. I've never had that happen before. I've never had you blame your suicidal feelings on me before. That's the first.
Yeah. But, she's like, you were a beautiful writer, you should be writing this down. But it's like, so it's like, obviously, and I already want to do this. So when you were like, what time do we start? And like, whatever, I was like, okay, I'll sit and I'll write about, something that I feel or whatever about some of this shit that's happened to me.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it. But then this is what happened to me the other day when I wouldn't answer the phone because I couldn't stop crying to you. Remember, I was like, I can't do this. I can't handle like the sounds I'm making being heard by another person. Like I can't handle it. But like, I'm in a bad mood right now, strictly because I went back to that place so I could like feel the feelings I felt then and then write about it. So like this whole thing that's supposed to make it better, like I feel horrible now, like horrible. The last 45 minutes, my mood went from like, I'm okay, like this is okay, to like, I'm fucking really angry. I'm really bitter. And you're like, what's new? But I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, so.
Well, but I mean, sometimes the reason I think that's good is because then, you don't fall so hard. You don't get so high and come so far down. You deal with stuff. It's not hidden away in a box. It's like, it's out there on the page. You've already cried about everything 1,000 times and you kind of come to terms with it. And then
I haven't come to terms with it.
Yeah, but you will. I'm not saying you're like done with life. I mean, that's how it works, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm a therapist, but it's just, I mean, I fucking journaled this morning and I was journaling about how, of course I did. And I was journaling.
I know. I mean, look at your shirt, look at your hair. You are like a human journal,
I'm just like this, like walking feeling. Is that like basically what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
What adjective? You're like one of those charts that has like all the different faces on it, and like, which one do you feel? Point to the one you feel like,
I love this shirt. I got it the other day.
It's a nice shirt.
Shut up. Oh, you're just a walking feeling in your fucking feeling shirt. I like it.
It looks like a psychedelic ocean to me. That's how.
Yeah, it's like a Japanese. I don't know. It's like I like it. It's nice to have clothes. When I was in Australia, I looked like shit for 5 years straight. Well, actually, it was like 4 years straight because the first year I had some money, and then after that I couldn't work. But anyway, my point is just, I journaled today, and then. Yeah, I was like journaling about how fucking annoying it is that I can't do anything. Like I keep trying to be like, okay, today is the day. Today is the day I'm going to do this and this and this. And then I'm like, I live in a hoarder's den.
The product of my hoarding is actually what you live in. Like
it's crazy to like look at so much stuff and be like, I don't know why I just don't feel alive anymore. It's like, and before,
when on the flip side, all I want is that stuff to make me feel alive. Cause as you've been going through this stuff with me, I'm like, oh, I remember when I bought that in 1999 at a thrift store in Carmichael, California. And you're like, excuse me? Like,
well, I think the funniest, I hope it's okay if I say this, is that the other day you decided, I mean, you were like messaging me and I was like, she's going to kill herself today. But I mean, I was so upset.
Yeah, it was real close, to be honest. I mean, like, no, I don't want to say real, but I was like very like.
Yeah, you were in a low place. I don't think you, from what you said, I don't think you're actually like, you just like given up, but you weren't like doing anything.
I was on Google. All right. That's all I need to say. I was on Google.
Googling?
I was just Googling, just for my own knowledge, like how to make it look like an accident or like, just.
Oh my God. Well, oh God, that's like so.
The highs are high and the lows are low.
But I'm like, just journal it out. Just write it down. But you had told your mom how you were feeling. So that was good. It's always good to tell people. And
you think so, not to interrupt you, but my mother, the problem is like, and I know you're like, oh, I wish I had this, but it's like my mom, she's.
I know what you're going to say and you're wrong. What parent hears, I want to die, and is just chill and is like, you know, you know what I mean?
The parent I want.
My mom takes it so seriously. Like I tell her I want to end my life and she's just like, oh, I can't sleep. I'm so worried about you. God, Mom, you're such a cunt,
Well, I think it's just like, because the response from her and then like another friend of mine that I've talked to aside from you, like, it's like, oh, you should, go to therapy. And I'm a big fan of therapy. Like even with what I went through as a teenager, getting sent away where it was like a punishment-based therapy system, which isn't therapy. Right. Even with that, I'm like,
I think that's called torture, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think it's an emotional trauma, planting the seed of it. Yeah. But like, I'm a fan of therapy and I went to therapy for a long time after that. But it's like, I'm sitting here and it's like, but I am talking about it and I know what's wrong. And I'm sure, obviously, I'm sure there's nuggets there, but it's like, I'm talking about it. I'm journaling about it. I'm, looking for things. So it's like, I'm like, what is me seeking out a therapist? It's like, I'm having a very, what I think, normal response to very extreme circumstances.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sort of like, so when she was like, oh, we need to get you into therapy. I'm like, Mom, like, I'm telling you what's wrong.
Well,
like, I've identified.
Because you're having a normal response doesn't mean that therapy doesn't help. It's like therapy helps you develop coping mechanisms for extreme circumstances. Do you know what I mean? It's like saying that anybody whose parent, let's say, you're in your 40s and your parent dies and you get you get a little sad. And it's like, well, but it's normal. I shouldn't go to therapy. It's like, no, of course you should. Like, why wouldn't you seek out? I mean, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying it's like, don't fucking kid yourself. But there's something more important than your emotions I was going to talk about, which is your clothes.
Yes. You know what? I agree. Go on, please. I
we
miss
can go
my
back
cashmere.
to it.
No, I don't even want it. Tell them all the beautiful things I have.
Like, well, no, what was the like real like alarm bell for me was that the other day when we were trying to figure out how to ship this stuff to you. And I was like, I can't keep fucking looking at this. And I've since made peace with it. I've done like an emotional like Reiki over the clothes. And I'm
you
like,
fucking look like it, to be honest.
My crazy hair. I mean, I'm wearing my pajama pants, but I was like, I'll put on a nice shirt. And then you're like, your shirt is a big feeling. So I guess I'm not fooling anyone, but I was like, we were messaging that next day. Oh, I got mad at you. Because I was like worried that you were, I do this thing that my dad does to me that I hate so much, which is so he does this to me when I'm really upset and in a dark place after a breakup or after something traumatic and I cry a lot. At first he's like there for me. And then he starts to get angry with me and be like, well, you got to get out of there. What do you do? And like punish me and be like, well, what else is going on? I don't, we shouldn't keep talking about this. And I'm like, there's nothing else. All I see is darkness, and then he'll be like, well, you're not going to drag me down. And that's what and then when I went through a breakup during COVID with someone who was in Australia and he was being really mad at me. And I knew it was because he was upset that he couldn't do anything. And I was like, Dad, if you're going to like punish me for being upset, it's going to keep me upset longer, and I'm not going to speak to you because this is who I am right now. So I'm, I was like, I'm not mad at you, but I can't go through this with you, and then he was like, I'm sorry, he apologized. I couldn't believe it. It was like 85, an 85-year-old being like, sometimes it's just hard to see you in pain, like whatever.
Yeah.
But then you were like so down, and I was getting mad at you, and I was like, God damn it, I'm doing the same thing he does. And it wasn't like you're dragging me down. It was just like, it's just hard to see your friends sad, like, and you can't do anything. But then you started, so I sent you this angry message like, listen, you dumb suicidal bitch.
And then I came.
I found my soulmate. But I said, I need to get this out of here. How come you haven't messaged me back about this? Whatever. I was like, I was being shitty, and I was like journaling. Of course I was journaling. And
you're like furiously journaling and typing a Facebook message. You're just like, I am everybody's ceramics teacher.
Yeah, that's the shirt. That's the theme. But and then you responded, and I was like, I'm really upset that I haven't heard back from you. Like, whatever. I should have just kept journaling. That's the thing. You never pause journaling to send a message. You work it through in the journal, and then you send a message after. But I should have just paused. I shouldn't have messaged. But you wrote back, and you were like, you know what? I don't want any of it. I just give it away. Just go, I'm so sorry I got you involved in this. And I was like, uh-oh. Like, that's when you're like, when Katharyn's giving away her favorite clothes, everybody get in touch, like I set up the phone tree, you know what I mean? Like, because she needs a fucking intervention. I was like freaked out, and it's all right. You didn't,
you don't even want to know what I was doing when I got your message, that message. Cause like, this is really, really, really pathetic, but I will share it. And we've repeated this a lot. Like, I'm really, really tired of hearing we've all experienced, because it's like, I know. And that's life. We all experience life differently. We all have different hardships. But like, anyone I've ever talked, and they're like, oh, I'm like, yo, dude, you don't fucking know. Like, I don't have anything here that would have been that thing of comfort. When you go through a breakup or you're having a bad day, like, I don't know, when I've been at my lowest in regular life, which fucking happens, I've got like one of my childhood teddy bears, like in New York. Yeah. And it winds up and it plays like Rockabye Baby. Okay. And when I felt like shit, because I love it, and I do this by myself, but I'm sharing it to the world. But like, I would twist it, and I would hold it, and I would fucking cry, and try to remember in time. Yeah, right. But guess what? I don't have shit here. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I don't have anything that provides you that sense of like home or comfort or whatever, or just familiarity. Like, the shit I brought to Australia, as I've said before, was not that shit. Because I was only supposed to be there a brief amount of time. So I like went through what I had here, and I found the item that I've owned the longest, and then a necklace that belonged to my mom. And I was holding those things and pretending that they were like a teddy bear and my mom. And I was crying like a fucking little bitch, but and I'm crying right now thinking about it, because it's just so sad and pathetic. But it's like, I am in a foreign place. I know 3 people here. Even if we're technically not allowed to see them, I miss my life. I didn't exactly get to choose to say goodbye to it. You know what I mean? And I'm like writing about it, but it's causing me like a lot of pain to kind of, when I had to get rid of everything, like that was like me doing survival mode, like I just have to do this. And now I seem to be in this like period of like processing, saying goodbye. Like, you live in a city I lived in 15 years. I didn't even I left it thinking I was going back, and now I might never go back. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like, that's what I was doing, because I'd been trying to write, and I was writing through like tears, and it was making me feel worse. So it's like, part of me is like, should I even be doing this right now? But I mean, I know it's like good to like work through this shit. But it's like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it set my ass off. It set me off. Like, I had done yoga. I had eaten breakfast. I had coffee. I went for a walk. I had a good morning. And then suddenly 4 hours of uncontrollable crying to the point where I was like, get rid of my shit. I don't even want to see it. I don't even want to think about it anymore. Like,
well, I did. And I regret it because I gave it to, I told you.
No, you didn't.
I gave it to all the, there's a lot of homeless people right now. And I mean, COVID's been hard for everyone, Katharyn. And
Yes.
so I went around Brooklyn and gave away all your like Helmet and Lang and Rag and Bone clothes to all these homeless people. And they were just saying, it's so nice to be able to be, if I can't have a home, it's nice to be fashionable.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank Katharyn Henson. So I've been working on this like big project. Everybody writes a page in a book, and I'm going to bind it together and send it to you.
Oh,
so, yes, you can hug that. You can hug that while you
people wearing my clothes. I love your Alexander Wang purse. I put all of my crack into it.
Oh man, I feel for the homeless, but no, I have not given away your clothes. I was like, you were like, just get rid of it. I don't even want. And I was like, okay, let's come back down. And then I was like, why did I send that fucking text? Like feeling so bad. Like I was the one who'd like pushed you off the ledge when you were contemplating. But I don't know. It's like, I think it's really amazing that we're talking about all this stuff, because I think, I've been in dark places before, and I didn't have a podcast at the time. I regret that.
Do you? I mean, if I'd had a podcast from my other dark places, I would feel like a fucking putz compared to now. Do you know what I mean? I'd be like, that wasn't suffering. You fucking had a bad, some dipshit who lives on a skateboard doesn't want to put his dick in you anymore. So you're crying about, I'd be like, stop it. Like, and even now, I don't know. I mean,
well, that's funny. There you go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you were going to say something funny, and I was going to say something sort of like, even now I like think about what I'm going through, and I don't know if this is like something relatable or not, but like, even now I'm like, ugh, you're being really pathetic. Like, why don't you just sort of like, get it together? Like, there's all those things where people are like, if you were in a third world country, or if you have a roof over your head and food, you're doing
Who
great.
Are these people?
Like,
who's saying
I don't
this?
know. The memes on Instagram. I don't know.
This is the voice in your head that's judging. People aren't saying this.
Well, I don't know. I did have a comic who I really, really like, who I don't know that well, while I was stuck in Australia, messaged me to kind of see how I was doing. And then I just started bitching. Mm-hmm. And he was just sort of like, well, our grandparents like went through the Great Depression and shit like that, whatever, and I'm like, yeah. Like, okay, I hear you, and you're right. I wasn't born in a third world country. So I'm coming from a first world perspective. And now from that perspective, I'm losing everything, like, in many ways. Yeah. I worked all my life to, piece together a little bit of savings, which is now like gone, like, and I'm worse financially than I've ever been. And I'm like, I worked so hard to feel so afraid about how much food I'm eating. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Side note, we will be starting a Patreon. So just consider that when you decide.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like us and every other fucking asshole with one idea in the world.
But then we'll be like, but Katharyn needs to eat. Like it's not just for the bonus content, but Katharyn has really gotten thin.
And I love it. No, what I mean to say, what I mean to say is, well, actually you said this the other day, but I'm working towards inversion. I want to be so thin I'm inverted. That's what you said.
Yeah. You want to turn
inside
out. Yeah, like
I want to turn inside out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And no, so that's a plus. So, bright side, I guess. But like, I guess sometimes then I beat myself up for feeling so bad, because I'm kind of like, if anybody could see you, like this is really like stupid. People have real problems. But it's like, I also do consider this a real problem. So it's like very conflicting, because I feel like I should be handling it better, but I'm also like, I'm handling it the best I can. And like, I dare anyone to switch with me. Like, anybody want to fucking switch? Like you can, I guess it's just, it would be interesting to see how other people would have handled the exact same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's like, like we talked about this recently, like how I have all these, I forget if we talked about this in an intro or in like a bonus thing that we haven't yet released, but we were talking about how I always have these like weird fantasies, like, and in it, like, even when it's like a good fantasy, I'm always the underdog, nobody understands, people are coming for me, and, like, I don't know, like I make a mistake and everybody's mad at me and I'm like, you don't understand or whatever. But I think that that's like a comedian thing of feeling like judged and defending against the judgment in your own head in a way that doesn't even exist necessarily, or maybe it could exist. But basically, I don't think anybody out there is thinking Katharyn is pathetic. Okay, let me tell you this story. She got stuck in Australia and couldn't get any money, and then had to give up her apartment in New York that she'd lived in for all these years and pay a stranger to put her clothes into storage. Now she's in the UK and she's poor and can't find a job, and her friend has to go through and sell her clothes. What a fucking little bitch. You know, like nobody is thinking of that. So it's like, and I think that what we do is we add this external voice of like, I think everybody does this, but comedians really feel it, where it's like you add this voice that is just so like, you pathetic, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it makes it so much worse, because then you have this conflict about like, I shouldn't even feel this way. I shouldn't even, whatever. And maybe when people say COVID's been hard for everybody in a different way, maybe they're not actually being as shitty as you feel like they are. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they're just trying to relate to you or something, or they don't know what to say, you know? Yeah,
no, I mean, they might not know what to say, because I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I give real answers, you know, like,
yes, it's true.
I struggle with like I literally had a guy, one of the only people I know here the other day was like, hey, how are you? And I was like, I'm worse off mentally and emotionally than I've ever been in my entire life. LOL. Like, I said that, and they read it and then did not reply, you know? And I was like, but I mean, what are you supposed to say to that? You know? I know. But then it's like,
who was that? Sorry, who was that?
This was just a comic I know here loosely. You know what I mean? Like we've hung out a few times.
Is he British?
Yes.
Well, that's your thing, you know?
And that's probably, and there's a lot to be said for like, I don't even know if I'm going to like it here, to be honest. You know, I mean, I know very little.
I think you will. I really love.
Yeah. Do you? But I mean, not like the city, but just the kind of way. I mean, there's definitely like a different vibe here, you know, like I don't know if we talked about that or whatever, but like, yeah, it seems like, I mean, the sort of like, I'm not doing well isn't exactly like an attitude here. Like people are more like, I don't know, you know, keep calm and carry on or whatever, like, which is like, obviously not me, you know. I haven't heard other people screaming the way I do in the street on their cell phone, you know, like
I've heard,
do that.
I mean, that's true. I was on a train from, I think it was from Edinburgh to London. I forget, but it was like right after I met you in Edinburgh. And I heard a man really going crazy. I mean, you know, he was obviously on drugs or drunk or whatever, but he was on the phone. I mean, he was on the phone with a woman and he's like, come on, take me back. I love you, blah, blah, blah. And he'd obviously walked out on her and her child. You know, it was like a crazy saga that you would have loved, you know, and she obviously was saying no, that it was time for them to break up. And he was like, yeah, fucking bitch. Ah! And like really lost it on the train. And then, you know, and he was black and there was like a white kind of high, like you just like upper class Englishman near him. And it was like definitely a thing where somebody needed to say something, but this guy, the way that he said something, I was like, you're just like racist and elitist. So it's like, now I can't even feel happy that you've shut him up, you know? So it was really, I lost was the biggest point. But you know, what I'm saying is your people are out there, you know, you just got to get on the train.
But that's the thing. The trains here, let me tell you, like, I mean, if you've been here and you live in New York, the trains here are carpeted and they don't smell like piss. That's how you know things are different here. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the trains in New York are made of plastic and everything smells like piss because it's all been covered in piss at one point, you know? Like, that's it. And like, I miss that. I miss the grime, the screaming. There isn't just one incident where you see somebody screaming on the train. If you are out in New York City for an hour, you're seeing somebody screaming about something. And I love that energy, you know? And I guess it's like, I've just been around it for so long. So this is like huge to acclimate to, you know?
Well, here it's not like that right now. So I think it's like, it's just a COVID thing as well. You know, right now there aren't that many Catherine Hensons walking around. Like, you know, what did you say the other day? Charging down the street, like screaming into a phone. It's like, you know, everybody's like a little bit like, oh, sorry, you know, with their little masks and whatever. We have our guest here and I'm going to let you handle it because she's your friend or whatever, your crush. So here we go.
Yes.
Hello.
It's recording. Hello.
Okay.
What a welcome.
Comedian Erika Ehler, hello, is joining us today. Hello, Erika.
Hey, what's up?
I'm excited to have this guest on. I would say the only thing, the best way to describe it is I stan her. You know, the Eminem song.
I get it.
he was so crazy that he killed himself or he killed his wife, because he loved Eminem so much. That's how I feel about Erika.
Right. Be careful.
Yes. I met Erika like I met Eve at the Fringe, and
same one. Of course, it was the only one that you went to.
The only one I went to. And
I was there, Erika. Just saying.
Yep. Yeah. She seems happy for you, is what I think. She nodded of approval, like good, glad. But I remember the first time I saw Erika, I was coming into this show that was supposed to be an American showcase. Erika is Canadian, but passes as American, right? For the sake of doing stand-up comedy to strangers.
Privilege. So I'm just saying.
They would sneak us on. It was nice.
Yeah. And I walked into the room and she was up on the stage and she was saying some shit. And the audience, I would say, they were taken aback. That's a nice way of put. They were like, oh my God. And I was like, who is this angel of darkness? Like I was like, I'm being spoken to, and I was like, I can't even remember who I went up to, but I was like, who is that person? Who is the person up there? Like, I was like, this is incredible because, it's just relentless what you do up there. Basically, I guess you had a great Fringe in terms of, am I wrong? I like that the look in her eyes. She's like, just don't bring it up.
No, it's true. I had a pretty good run as far as they go. I was able to get a lot of good stuff out of it. So,
and how old are you?
I'm 23.
I was stalking you on Instagram today. I saw that you wrote for a Netflix show, and I was like, I don't want to do this podcast with her. Like, I don't want to talk to a 23-year-old who like knows what she wants and is doing it. You know what I mean? But
it's upsetting, right?
Yeah.
Like when I was 23, I remember it was a Super Bowl Sunday. I don't remember what happened, but I do remember I got locked in the bathroom of a bar I used to go to after work, and they had to break open the door and pull my pants up for me. So that's what I was doing when I was 23, because I fell asleep on the toilet. Yeah. So, to look at somebody who's 23, who's like not, and has such a clear comedic voice.
Yeah. I also went, like, I feel like the reason why I guess I know what I want is because like I went to comedy school, and that's such a dorky thing to say. Like,
but I'm just going like, yeah. And I'm just getting more jealous. Do you know what I mean? Like, as you say it, I'm like, you're making it worse, Erika. No. Okay. So where did you go to comedy school?
I did a 2-year diploma in Toronto at the Humber Comedy Program. And then they had this new thing where
the diploma of comedy. What the fuck?
It's stupid. It's like, I can count on my hand, like, the amount of people who, actually did something with it. So,
well, was it
one? Is it you?
Yeah.
Like,
did you need to get accepted for it, or like, could you just?
Well, yeah, you do, but it's like they just want to know if you can read and write and if you can pay for the fucking course. So it's kind of anybody.
I'm guessing that a lot of the people. I mean, I don't know if you still are in touch with these people. I don't know if you can shit talk, but I'm guessing that a lot of people weren't funny.
No, I'd say that like a lot of them, a good handful of them were funny, but they had no, and they peaked there. And it honestly does make me sad because I remember being there and thinking like, oh, I can't wait till, when we're like a few years on, we will like be buddies at a show. And it's like, they all just disappeared. Like whatever,
Yeah. It's bleak, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's bleak.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, our professor at the beginning of the school year was like, yeah, maybe 10% of you will still be doing this. And that's being generous.
Yeah.
And it was being generous. Like, there's like, I think there's 5 of us who could do it consistently. I mean, before the pandemic.
When I hear you're like, oh, it's kind of dorky. Like, what I think is infinitely more dorky is like, I went to school for something. I went to school to get a degree in writing, but I didn't want to be like a novelist. So I basically burned money to just go to college because like I thought it was, the thing I was told to do, right, by my parents. So I I hear you, but I'm just like, I think it's really amazing to even have the idea of what you want to do at such a young age. Cause like at the age I went to school, I just basically literally set money on fire and will owe money until I'm dead, you know, for something I didn't even want to do. Like I have a degree in some shit that makes no fucking sense to me. That's actually also useless because it's liberal arts, you know? So I just think to be kind of so self-aware, like I consider myself a relatively self-aware person at a young age, but just like, how do you even know? Like, how do you get there? Like now, do you know what I mean? Like, do you know how many people would kill to like know and be as good as you are at your age?
I'm just loving because I'm like, I think Katharyn's in love with you. Like,
dude,
I said
I stand her. I stand her. Like,
that's not news to me. No, I know.
Yeah, totally.
Katharyn's always been very, nice and supportive about, me ever since I met her. And I was always just like, damn, I'm not that great,
No.
Well, no, I mean, you are great, but I just think it's so funny when somebody like really just like, sees a thing in you and they're like, what is it like to shit gold every day, to wake up enlightened? And you're like, I want to die. That's where my jokes come from or whatever. I don't know. I'm projecting, but I have listened to your jokes. So I'm sensing.
No, correct. I do want to die. Like, correct.
I don't want to assume you're suicidal, but I've seen your set. So yeah, but I just love that, Katharyn's like, what is it like to be you? But anyway, but really, what is it like?
I honestly think it was probably has to do with like the fact that like I guess I just spent so much time alone growing up, and I guess like would just always be online. So I think like navigating like I guess a voice through that. Like I mean like, oh, this is so cringe, but like I used to be on like Tumblr a lot.
No, I love it. Okay.
Yeah. And like I was able to like put some thoughts out there, and it got like for then it got like I got a small following. Like no one knew who I was. I was like some weird 14-year-old just putting out weird thoughts.
Yeah.
And
like
why
why
were you so alone? Sorry, did you have?
I'm just like an only child. I just that's so when I would go home, it's just, and my parents are old. They had, not that they weren't involved, they weren't, but it's just like if I wanted to, play a board game, they were like, yeah, no, like
right.
Yeah.
Go talk to your Tumblr friends.
Exactly.
And that's like a period of time before the internet was like the internet it is now, right? Where everybody's online now. I feel like maybe that was like that transitional period. Cause like, I remember as a teenager when I was online, it wasn't like MySpace didn't exist yet. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, it was sort of this cavern for, I guess, people maybe like you who were like, I'm spending most of my time alone, but then I can express myself to a variety, like so many people. And only those types of people were like online at the time. Oh, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're able to find your like niche really early on, and not like feel like weird about it. Like I guess like I like one thing I particularly was like super interested in when I was like a teenager was like grunge music. Like I was obsessed with that. Like I remember I would wear like a Nirvana t-shirt every day to school, to the point where like my gym teacher gave me a free shirt being like, you must be poor. Like, why are you wearing this all the time?
Right.
And I'm like,
and you're like, cause he killed himself, man.
Yeah. Don't you get his art, bro? Like,
he's a fucking hero. Yeah.
But like, I was able to find like a bunch of people my age and older or even younger who like also really liked that music, and what I wasn't going to be called like weird. So I guess like in terms of that, that's how I got to be comfortable with the things that I find interesting, like because I know that like other people would too.
It's kind of, I mean, it's like so the opposite of what we expect of people who grow up with the internet, because I didn't get like AOL until I was like 11 or 12, and nobody spent all day online. I mean, you'd go online for like an hour or two, because I'm old, okay, compared to you. But yeah, like we just, I didn't really grow up with it, and it wasn't until I guess close to like, I don't think I got a smartphone until I was like 30 almost. So, but it's like all these young kids, like they're not even going to know who they are. They're just constantly plugged in. But I guess you're saying that like it actually helped you figure out sooner who you were.
Yeah.
It made you feel okay about it.
Although there probably are instances of that where they don't know people don't know who they are. I think it's I don't know. I feel like the internet's just a tool, and it's like if you don't know who you are to begin with, it's just gonna unravel that as well. Like I always had a computer in my room, which is probably to my detriment. Computer and TV, and was just always on. Not go to sleep.
I did like computer with TV in the background.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah. Like there's some, I mean, it's weird. And I don't know, you know, cause like, as I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm seeing parallels to like, I guess what you're saying to like how I grew up. Cause like I had a, you know, older brother, but he's like a half brother. He's 20 years older than me. So it's like, forget it. That's like second dad, you know, I didn't have one, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, a half a dad, it's fine. Yes. Yeah. Long story long. But I was a live journal kid. That's what I had. I had my like alias, and I would write these really like long live journal entries and like add photos and whatever, and like participate in like live journal bullshit, including like bullying strangers on the internet was like definitely one of my like favorite pastimes for my aggression, because I wasn't doing a good job of doing that at school, you know, because I was a fucking weirdo, right? So it's just interesting to hear that like you also, because I guess that's sort of in some ways how I feel like I developed initially, you know, as a person. It was like in the same way. Because now you kind of look at it and you're like, are people even finding a voice, or are they just now what the way the internet is, or are they just like mimicking the things that they think other people might want now? Do you know what I mean? Like with the rise of shit like TikTok and like whatever, you know?
Because TikTok, a lot of it is just like they'll mouth other people's words, right? Like they'll lip sync like a joke of somebody else's. So it's like, I don't know.
When it's hard, I feel constantly left out because I could, you know, you can kind of do anything. I mean, there are people of all ages on TikTok, even though it feels like a younger thing, but I constantly feel left out. But then I try to go and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try it. And then I'm like, I don't fucking want this. You know, like it's just so, because you go viral on TikTok. Oh, I don't even know if you go viral. I don't even know if that's like the right terminology. People
that's
watch
so
your
2001
shit. Yeah, seriously.
It's not like a thing anymore, you know?
Yeah, totally. But you get a lot of people on TikTok, and then from what I've heard, it's like, and then what? You know, it's like then what do you do with it? Whereas like, I don't know, Instagram, it feels like, I mean, you're probably not even thinking about like how to monetize shit, are you?
Not through online stuff. No, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that ship has kind of sailed. I always, it's like kind of that thing where it's like, oh, I feel like I'd be getting into that too late.
Really?
Where I'd be like, because I feel like try and do like a YouTube channel now, I feel like is just like an insane, not that people haven't done it. Like my friend did it recently this year, but I feel like he had a bit of a following and that's why he started it. Whereas I don't necessarily have one. So I'd kind of like, also, like those things are so time consuming. I'd rather spend my time doing something else. Like, although it is, I feel like maybe a good ad for like who you are sometimes. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm finding, you know, like who I'm like attracted to in terms of like comedy or whatever. I'm finding like a lot of those people aren't making the online transition. Do you know what I mean? Like the full on, like I now like am hardcore into my online presence, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, like, you know what I mean? Because I look at it and that kind of shit like really overwhelms me, but
yeah, it's stressful.
It's stressful. And then I start to think about when I'm on my deathbed, you know what I mean? And I'm going to think, did me sitting there editing this thing to make it perfect that was like, you know, enjoyed for maybe 24 hours once, you know, was that worth my life and my time, you know? But it's such a weird time to be in where it's like, that's in some ways, the only way it feels like you can get yourself out there anymore because of Corona. But I just then look at you and then I'm like, well, you wrote for a Netflix thing. Like that's what you did instead of get famous on TikTok, you know? And I'm like, you know, that's like the direction I'd rather go, you know, as like an artist or whatever. And it's like, what do you feel like when you're sort of seeing like your peers who, you know, I'll just say aren't as funny as you, somehow rising in popularity online, you know, whereas like whatever you're doing is kind of like you have to like push it forward on your own without like the likes, you know what I mean? The approval, the thing that's going to keep you going. Like you have to do it yourself. How do you find yourself doing that?
I guess like whenever because I do get like jealous of sometimes like, oh, how does this bozo like have like X amount of followers? Like they're shit. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, I have to remember that like, okay, the whole thing about online, like being online is you're able to find your niche. And it's like, it's easy to find a bunch of people who are fucking stupid. Like it's not hard.
Yeah.
So
what are you saying? What is, I don't agree with that. People are, look at QAnon, you know, that's the.
Exactly.
Right.
But like, it's not, I think it's like, yeah, these people have found like their niche and like they've found like their people, but it's like, I'm always thinking like, okay, but what is the quality of those people? I know maybe that's like a silly question, but I'm always like, oh, these like, okay, they think that's really funny, but I think that's like that's low hanging fruit. Like this joke is so not, anyone could have written this. Like any this.
I'll tell you what's really happening to me right now as we talk is that I'm beginning to like stan you too. Like, and it feels like a little shitty. I'm like, because I'm just like, you do see, you know what I mean? Like, I think that you're going to have this thing where people kind of like project onto you this like kind of, like, tell me your ways, you know? Cause I don't know how you're so able to, like do your own thing and not feel threatened. Like when I was 23, I mean, I guess I was doing my own thing, but I did not have the confidence to be like, well, you know, these people are getting this thing and it seems really kind of lame or not that interesting. So therefore I'm not going to get jealous. I mean, I'm so jealous. I have a podcast about being jealous. Do you find that a lot of your friends are jealous of you?
I don't think so, because I feel like the people that I keep close to me aren't like, they might be jealous, but like they wouldn't be jealous in the way that they're like, you don't deserve that.
Right.
They'd be jealous like, oh, I wish that were me too. Not like in the way that like some people are like, you should have never had that opportunity. Right.
Yeah. So like envy versus jealousy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Which by the way is like our, you know, I'm speaking for Katharyn now. We want you to have the nice things, but we do want to steal a little bit of your power, you know?
The basketball from Space Jam, you do a bit of that.
Right. Space Jam.
Yeah, I was like, that's in your jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you open with Space Jam and then like you end, I mean, I don't know, obviously I don't know all your sets, but it's like in sets I've seen, it's like you open with Space Jam and you end with like being a trophy wife like your mom was. Or like, do you know what I mean? Like something so hard, like going so hard in. And I guess like, you know, I was attracted to that because like I, you know, also have like dark comedy. I've been told no a lot based on what I do and blah, blah, blah. So it's like when I saw you being so successful, being like much more like hardcore, what was that experience like coming up in New York? For me, it was hard. Like I either bombed a lot trying to do dark shit or was just told like, you know, we don't want to have you on the show because of this. I mean, did you have that type of experience at all, like doing what you do?
I'd say not so much, but I think I don't think I became that dark until after I moved for school to Manchester. And then I found that they didn't really care that much. Right. Yeah. And I think it also has to do with like, you know, my accent a bit, like whatever like we say comes out as bubbly, whether you like it or not to them.
Yeah. I lived in Australia for like 5 years before COVID. And it was just like, everybody thought it was so cute, you know, that I was like, and I would open with being like a New York Jew and they're like, wow, you know, we've heard of you. And so it's like, it's such a
novelty.
It is a novelty. Yeah. And it feels like cheating in a way because I haven't done stand-up since I got back because of COVID, but I can't open about being a New York Jew in New York. Everyone's like, yeah, we're all New York Jews.
It's kind of like, I've always said that like I'm kind of like and this is going to come off as so pretentious, but I have said it before, but it's like, I see my stand-up as like a movie, and whether you come to see it with your kid or you're like at a matinee or something, the movie doesn't change. Like, you don't go to a movie and be confused that you're seeing that movie. Like, you don't walk in and go see Hereditary and get mad that it's not Paw Patrol, right? You kind of know what you're like. I know it's a bit different when you're on a mixed bill, but I feel like you also kind of know going into a club what to expect. Like, you don't expect to be like, unless it's billed a certain way where it's like, this is a family friendly show. This is, a certain expectation. So whenever somebody has a certain expectation, I'm kind of like, well, that's that's kind of your fault,
Yeah.
God, you sound like someone who has boundaries. I don't really understand.
Yeah.
How, you're like, yeah, well, this is me and that's you. And I'm like, no, but you're supposed to want everyone to love you. But that's very mature.
I mean, obviously I do. I mean, I still want that too. Who doesn't? You want to be liked, but you also have to be a bit nicer to yourself too. Sometimes it's like, I don't want to beat myself up every day because they didn't get it.
Yeah. That's very upsetting because I apparently do, because that's what I will do. I mean, but you also seem to have like that attitude in general, like not just on stage. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not, this interview will end and then I will be like, I feel like bad, or I feel like whatever. And I feel like you're just going to go on with your fucking day. And I'm going to be like, how could I have made that funnier? Why didn't I make her smile more? And I feel like you're not thinking about that when you're entering situations. I don't want to speak for you, but it's like, even when we've gone out together, you're just like, this is me. That's it. Yeah.
I think certain situations I'll be really hard on myself. Like I should have done this. And it does, like, that comes up. Like, I remember I was opening for this one comic and I didn't really address the crowd as I think I should. I did crowd work in the middle of the set rather than not doing it at the top. And that like bothered me for a long time. And I was like, okay, well, I'll have another chance to open for that comic again soon. It didn't happen because obviously like COVID. But like that stuck with me. Like something like that sticks with me. I remember reading like reviews for that Netflix thing and thinking like, well, shit, nobody liked it. So that for a while I was having like a bit of like a panic reading them. So it's
was it called Debts of 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that we all didn't say the name for a while and then you
I know. Well, it's funny because it's like I don't know. I think it's like it's so easy when you're not making something and be like, I didn't know you did. It's like, I didn't like it or this was it. But it's like, so what? So you shouldn't have made it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like too late.
Yeah. It's like people have to, like, you just make stuff. And I don't know. I get I go back and forth with this where it's like, sometimes you're just like, I got to make shit. And it doesn't really, you do the best you can and you want to make it good. And you want people to like it. But whatever, if people don't fucking like it, it's like, well, you watched it. That's an hour of your life that I helped you get through. Mm-hmm. And now you get to write your opinion for 2 hours and then edit it down on your stupid blog.
It's like the thing with like reviewers. It's like, you always have to think like they can't exist without people like us.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, they're parasites. Like,
yeah. Well, this is what I say to myself to comfort myself at night when I can't sleep. I mean, I think that critics are useful sometimes when they actually are there to help make things better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm like, I feel the need to like make you feel better about this thing that you seem to feel fine about now.
Oh yeah, it's okay. I mean,
yeah.
I think like there were 17 other writers on there. Like, I think it's like,
right.
And then also I reading it, I think they like, because of the way it was advertised, like from the producers of Black Mirror, I think they expected like something like that, like, which it's not. It's a straight comedy. So I can understand like if you were confused going in, why you'd be like, well, this is not what I thought I was, advertised, being annoyed with it.
Yeah, it's fuck Netflix. Get your get your marketing right.
Yeah.
Right.
You speak for yourself. I want Netflix to fuck me is what I want. I would like anything on Netflix. Yeah. Also, I want to point out you have 2 parents, right? Isn't that nice? Two
Oh,
parents?
that's why you're confident. All right, let's just end it here.
Well, she doesn't have a mom and I didn't have a dad. Together we have a whole family, but
yeah,
exactly. I'm looking for my dad in anybody's eyes. But it's funny because she posted on her Instagram at one point like a photo of her with your parents. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had, but it's like she wrote, these dumbasses had unprotected sex and now I just gotta exist. Huge L for me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's like an attitude, but like, do your parents, do they know what you say? Like, do they know what you say into a microphone? Your mom?
Yeah, they've come to like, well, they haven't seen like a lot of recent stuff, but like, I remember my dad came to a show kind of early on, and then I had like some sex jokes in there, and I remember him going to the toilet, and I was like, "Oh, Dad, like you know that it's like all made up, right?" Because I mean, my parents are very Christian, so I didn't want them thinking I wasn't a virgin or something like that.
Oh my God! And was that into the microphone? You said that?
No, it was like an intermission or something, and then I like pulled him aside, and then I was like, "Oh, you know, it's all made up," and he was like, "Oh, I don't mind what the white guy stuff or like white people stuff." He like, it just went over his head that he was like, no,
he just doesn't hear it. It's just some kind of like
doesn't hear it. He thought that I was worried that he was going to be offended that I said I made a joke about white people, and he's like, I don't care.
That's so funny. Your dad has like an auto sensor, so when you're like dick, he just hears like beep. He's like, oh, that's so weird. Your mic cut out for 4 minutes in the middle of your set. So were your parents really supportive of you growing up?
Yes and no. Like they would let me like, they paid for like Second City classes when I was a teenager. So in that way, yeah. And then when it came to university, it was like a push for me to, I got into like a bunch of other, you know, quote unquote normal programs that they kind of like more so wanted me to do. But like, I just kept talking about the comedy program, and they were like, well, clearly you want to do this.
Yeah.
And I think in their eyes, like I could always just finish my degree. Like, so,
yeah,
which I
when
did.
You say other programs, sorry, no.
Yeah. Other programs. Like I got into like a, languages program, poli-sci, things like that, criminology.
So you're like smart. So you're also just like a generally like well-rounded smart person. Because it's like I add on my fingers. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't add basic numbers, you know? So I'm just trying to get an idea, because it's like I know you, but I don't know you, like who you are. Like you could have gone and been a doctor, or you could have learned 16 languages and been whatever.
Well, I can't do math, so I'm there with you. Like that's for sure. I ended up doing like, yeah, I basically, I think in grade 11, you have to do math up until grade 11. In grade 11, I was like, well, this is the last time I'll ever do math. And I made sure that they put me in like the stupid course, like genuinely for stupid people, where like we were in like the portables, and our class was
that's
like writing checks. Like that was one of our things.
Wow.
So,
right. Which now don't even exist, but that's cool.
Like, yeah. So yeah, I think they call it workplace math, which is they're like the dumb.
But that's the math. That's the real math you need. I mean, I never used that other shit like geometry, which I didn't ever learn how to do, but like, I certainly haven't even tried to use that. And so it's like, okay, so your parents were supportive, but it's like, I guess, you know, you joke about this, which is why I want to ask about it, because I feel like, you know, coronavirus, I'm dealing with more like mental and emotional shit than I ever have in my life, including when I like got sent to like a therapeutic boarding school or whatever. Like you're comfortable joking about that stuff, and I guess, you know, acknowledging it, which some people aren't even like, what is it like being you, I guess? Like what exactly are you dealing with, and how, you know? And but then you're making it funny. Do you know what I mean? And that's like, I think a lot of comics even struggle with, because, you know, 95% of comics are just clowning around talking about fucking who they fucked, you know, on a Tinder date or whatever. But
right.
like, you're talking,
you don't need to, I'm right here.
I'm not even looking at you. I'm not even looking at you right now.
Yeah, but you know, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, what is it that you, and I guess sort of deal with, and then how did you finally, like, I guess, cross that barrier where you're like, I'm just going to laugh at this and I don't care? Or is that like how you dealt with it? I mean, you know.
I think like probably. I mean, there was like a time where I knew I was like not right in the brain, but then I wouldn't mention it in stand-up at all.
And what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Like I just like, oh, I'm nervous all the time. I'm sad all the time. This must like to find out that wasn't how you should feel, I guess, was a shock to me.
Right. That other people weren't necessarily feeling that way all the time. Yeah.
And then, so I kept that pretty, like, I guess, hidden for a while. I think also like having gone through like this like special ed program, like growing up, I think keeping, it's kind of fucked. Like they going through that, they make you, there's no way you leave that proud of like your brain.
You feel stupid or something.
Yeah. So any other weird, like, not typical thing about, I guess my brain, like I was like, okay, it has to be hidden. I think after what made me more comfortable was seeing other people talk about it, like some classmates or just like comics I looked up to. It was like, oh, okay. And then also being like, I think eventually getting on antidepressants was like another game changer, I think, because it made it like not too real, I guess. Not like, that's not a good way to word it.
Made it not as heavy.
Yeah, that's probably yeah. So I felt more comfortable talking about things like that.
That's pretty cool. And do you talk about that in your stand-up?
Sometimes. I mean, like, yeah, I think I do talk about like mental health here and there, but yeah.
I'm laughing because you'd say like it's between like an antidepressant and Ritalin because you want to see which one wins or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like with Ritalin, like one of the side effects is like genuinely like suicidal thoughts. But then so is it's kind of stupid. Like with antidepressants, another one of the side effects is suicidal thoughts for like the first bit. Yeah.
And vivid dreams. That was actually really fun. I remember having all these like amazing dreams and I was like, wow, I wonder if I could just dip in and out of depression and kind of come on and off. That won't have any negative
lucid
consequences.
dreams.
Yeah. I tried so hard, but if you try to like get into lucid dreaming, it's like a whole pursuit. So I've given up. And I just take mushrooms sometimes.
But your outfit doesn't look like you have. So I think
Katharyn said that, fuck you. She said that my hair and my shirt, it's like I'm like a walking feeling, like I'm an art teacher or something. Which
art teacher makes yeah
totally. I'm a big journaler, talk about my feelings person, as opposed to Katharyn, who's just like fucking life is shit, just like yearning for the subways that smell like piss. How do you believe people, like, because we're sitting here and we're telling you like how great you are. I mean, I feel like we're some like weird agency people.
I feel like I haven't even told her enough, to be honest. Because also just before, can I interrupt you? Can you remember your question? Because it's like just on another thing, like when I look at Erika, she's like a unique person, like being a comedian, joking about the stuff she's joking about, having the observations at 23. She's also got a look, like she's always got these cool earrings on. They're always kind of like, sort of kitschy, funky, right? I mean, maybe not right now, but who's wearing jewelry these days anymore? No. Yeah. It's pathetic. Like I could pretend like and put earrings on, but I'm like, let's call a spade a spade. I'm like in pajamas right now. And so you look cool and you're joking about that stuff. And then you also are an incredible roast joke writer. Like you're like, that's the thing. I'm looking at her and I'm like, she has no affection toward me. She's writing the scathing things that she is thinking about me. Like you look like you can just like churn it out, like, receipt paper at a fucking grocery store. And it's just really impressive. I mean, like the whole thing, it makes me fucking nervous. You make me nervous and not a lot makes me nervous, Why? Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of curious because I was going to say, do you take on, like, can you even really feel like because you've obviously had your own stuff like depression or, I don't know, your own life. It's like, do you even let that stuff affect you? Like, do you even feel like someone who's impressive or intimidating? Or are you kind of like, whatever? I mean, like, what's your response to it internally?
I think there's an element of it's like, okay, people are like, a lot of people I like and respect have like said like, that I'm talented or that I'm XYZ. And like, I do take that in, but to an extent, because it's like, if there was like, someone told me once, like, if you don't take in the good stuff as much, you don't also have to, like, when it comes to like, comments about comedy particularly, that you'd also don't have to put value on the bad stuff. Like, so that's kind of how I like have learned to like kind of navigate that. No, obviously when someone gives me a compliment, it's like, it's very nice. Like, I'm like, thank you. I do take it, but I don't like, I don't carry it around with me, I guess.
Yeah. You don't add it to your ego.
No. Cause I think
I'm sorry.
What do I add to my ego?
Yeah. I'm like, how do you keep going? Cause it's like, I don't know. It's not like,
it sounds like you're not an ego driven person. It sounds like you're just like trying to stay close to the ground. Is that right?
I think so. I think like people with big egos make me kind of cringe a bit. Like,
like, I mean, you're talking, like, I don't know that we have big egos, but we get carried away by our egos a lot. I think, Katharyn and I, right? Is that accurate, Katharyn?
Well, I think there's like, I'd say that you guys are confident, but I wouldn't say that you think that like, well, I guess I don't know. There's a thing where it's like people think that they deserve more than they actually do, I guess. And that really like that type of person like annoys me, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I can get there. And that's why I fucking journal, because honestly, it's because it's like, I mean, it's not just because of that, but it's like, you can get lost in, and I'm not talking about you, Katharyn, even though it might sound like I'm talking about you, but you can get lost in self-pity. Like, I only say that because we've talked so much about that during COVID, but you can get lost in the story. I used to, and I think, thinking about where I was at when I was 22, I was like, I felt like my whole life was destroyed by my mom dying when I was like 7. So just like really get heavy quickly, but it's like, so I just thought, like, it's unfair, and I don't have a chance. And I did have a chance. And I was like remembering the last moments before I knew that she was gone. And that was the last time I was ever whole. I wrote this like really pathetic, like, I mean, I had to do it. I had to write these stupid little short stories. But then, I don't know, at some point you just realize like, well, people die. It's not that it's not sad. It's just like, this is what happens. Nobody's out to get you. You're not destroyed. This is the reality of your life. And it just helps me to kind of go like, how do I get what I know I want, not in a gross way, but like in a working hard way. But I do get carried away by like feeling like I'm owed more, or why is it so hard for me? All this stuff like that. So yeah, I think for me anyway, I don't want to speak for Katharyn, but the thing that I'm, I guess most impressed by with you, it's like it's not like you haven't had a hard time in your own ways. I mean, obviously, if you're talking about depression and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, people, that's, real. But it's like you seem to just focus on doing the work and not on feeling jaded or cheated or anything like that. Or is that accurate?
I think because I used to do that a lot. Like I used to like, especially like within the comedy program, we were like, it's like all the females were kind of like pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Which was like so toxic. And I talked to like two other girls who have like gone through the program, like Bria and Hannah, who Katharyn know. Like they went there in separate years, but like same thing happened there, where they were like, there was another girl that they were pitted against. And like, I don't know, you kind of just like have to, it just teaches you just like, I can't be like this because I will.
Well, it kind of feels like you are not shook by a lot and you're staying in your own lane. And that's hard for a lot of people. That's hard for me. Like I could see somebody having success for something that is not in my skill set, that I don't even know how to do, that I didn't even apply for, and be like, why didn't I get that? You know, like, it's just like, I want to know how you ended up like that. I just don't understand it. It seems like really unbelievable to me. And maybe that's why I'm so just drawn to like you and what you do, because you just seem, I don't know. I just see it. It's a very special thing that you have, just across the board. You know, have I sucked your dick enough? I mean, I tell you this almost every time I see you too. Like, I'm like, just smile at me. Can I get a smile? Like, I really, really, you don't care to make me feel. You don't care to make other people feel a certain way, which I think is like kind of a nice way to be as well. It's not like people pleasing. It's being true to yourself, you know?
I feel like sometimes that works like in the opposite favor for me though, especially with like industry meetings. Like some people like really want, I try to be like a bit more like happy. Well, not happy. Like I try to like smile a little bit more than I, naturally would. But yeah, I think like sometimes like, oh, that's definitely not gone in my favor because they didn't feel like I was like, oh, this is a really important person that I, which they like a lot of these people are used to.
Yeah. So, and at some point you'll probably get to a place where they want to make you feel that way and they don't necessarily yearn for you to make them feel that way. But like, I can see that.
I wonder if there's like a boardroom of 15 of us there and we're all just saying this shit to you, how long would it be until we get like a real smile? You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like how much would have to happen? It's just, it's it's like you seem unimpressed. You're like, yeah, fine, dance for me. Like
I wouldn't say that I'm unimpressed. I mean, like it's like all like, yeah, I don't know. I think it all has to do with like, going back to that thing from before. It's like if someone says something nice, I can't like, because if I start like putting too much like weight into it, I will put weight into everything else, and it'll
Does it make you feel kind of cringe that we're sitting here just like going down on you for an hour? Like that we're just like, you're so amazing. And what does it feel to be like the next comedy messiah, whatever, like, or whatever. Do you feel uncomfortable?
No, because I like you guys. So it's like, if it was like,
I know.
That's what we wanted this whole time.
I wish you could have opened with that. You know what I mean? Because like clearly we needed that. But
oh my god! All right, it's been good talking. Thank you. Bye. It's so funny. When I'm on stage, if I feel so, sometimes I'll get someone in the front row who has your energy, right? Who like is just looking at me and I can't read them, which is like to me, I fall apart. I think I've held it together pretty well on this because Katharyn's been falling apart, but I've been.
Thank you.
No, I'm just kidding. But she said to me like, I've been texting like men on I've met on like Tinder, and Katharyn's like, play it fucking cool, and she's been like the voice of reason. And then in this podcast, I feel like I'm the one who's a little bit cooler. I think, is that fair, Katharyn?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't feel cool. I don't feel good inside right now. It's like this. I was like, I'm going to see my friend. And then I'm like, but like, this is how you are. You know what I mean? And I like that about you. And like, I mean, because also when you're like in your silly place, whatever that, because I've seen you like that. It's a joy to see because it's another side of you. Do you know what I mean? Like when, like your friends, Bria and Hannah, right? Would you say like, are those like your closest friends? Or I mean, maybe you have other friends. I don't know. Yeah. Like just to give you an idea, like Bria and Hannah are two very different personalities from yours, right? Like, would you agree? I mean,
well,
I definitely agree.
Bria and Hannah, you cannot be like a cynical Bria. You know what I mean? It's like no one named Bria is like,
I feel like she's getting there though.
Is she rubbing off on her?
No, I feel like an event happened that she's just like not as
the life change. Yeah, somebody did some shit.
So dark. I'm like, oh yeah.
No, it's not. It's nothing like that. It's just
okay. Like, I was like, does she need support? Like, should we call her?
No, she's good now. But I think like she's been leaning into like I think something like the way she described it is like, yeah, I used to like not be as chaotic. I used to hide that part of me, but now I'm like, she was saying like I'm going off online. And it's worked. It's like worked in her favor. Like a lot of like the stuff that she's put out like has got a lot of like quite a bit of traction, like, you know, likes and things like that. So, you know,
no, I'm not jealous. That doesn't trigger jealousy in me at all. No, what I was gonna say before though is that when I would get someone like you in the front row, I would just be like, all right, what's going on? And I would really, and it was always, if it was a guy, right? Like I would just fucking pick on them. And they might be like, what do you mean? Like, they're always like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you're making a face, you know, you're not smiling. And they're like, well, that's just my face. And I'm like, well, you need to take responsibility because you're in the front row. So I need you to smile at me. You know, I need to know, like, I would be like mean and I would make them kind of say what you just said to us, which is like, no, I like you. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I would flirt, whatever, but I can't do that to you, you know, because you're the guest. So I have to just I got to keep my shit together and be like, all right, 23-year-old, impressive. 23,
but
23.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's just, it is amazing. It's just amazing how like, you've been able to make two very like loud, confident people nearly like go to their knees. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'm like, if you don't fucking smile at me, that means like everything I worked for was a lie. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's really, it's impressive. I'm just curious, like, so, because Bria and Hannah, so like they're both just that like smiley, friendly, like you said that night, text when you get home, you know, like, and I barely know these people, you know, at the time. How did that friendship happen? You know what I mean? Like, and don't take this the wrong way, how are you making friends? Because people like it when they are smiling, you know, when people smile at, look, you're not even smiling at me right now. You like hate this. But like, how did you guys come to be so close, you know, like, because if you have this intimidating veneer, you know, it's hard then for people to want to penetrate that because they kind of are like, oh, fuck. Yeah. You know, and then they like get scared and they might walk away, you know? Obviously I didn't do that because I'm very persistent if I like something, you know, but how?
We all went to the same program, so that's kind of our link to knowing each other. Like Hannah was in the year below me, and then Bria was in the year below Hannah. So that's kind of how we knew each other initially. I always liked Hannah's comedy. Like I remember I invited her to do like the first show I ever produced. I asked her to do, and it was like. It was a weird show. Like it was like for my birthday. And then like only family came in the front row and then it was weird.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. It was weird as fuck. And then I remember seeing Bria at an open mic and I remember pulling her aside like, oh, that like you're really good for not have been going that long.
Yeah.
And
being
then,
so new.
Yeah. And I think we just ended up like, you know, you kind of just see each other everywhere. And you end up like feeling a bit more like when you go to a mic and it's like a room full of like, you know, incels, you're going to gravitate to the person who you feel safe with.
But so you respect them. You respect
I respect them. Yeah. And like, we ended up doing, I think we got the most close. We were always like friends, but I think we got the most close over Fringe. I think. Because
you had a show.
We'd see each other the most we've ever had up until that point. Because before it's like, you know, we all had jobs or we all had like, you know, we were at school for whatever reason. We lived in different parts of the city. So it'd always be nice when we'd see each other. And like Bria, I'd say I was closer to at first. Cause like I would invite her to like, we went to a friend's cottage at one point. Like we were all like, it happened over like a few years. Yeah. It's kind of it. Stuck around.
There's something to like really just seeing someone do stand up and having respect for them. That's how Katharyn and I became friends. She actually, you only saw me do stand up once in New York in front of like 10 people. It was like 20 people, or maybe it was like, I don't know, 12. But anyway, it was,
there was 0 people there.
There was no one there. It was just me in the bathroom. Yeah. It's just me talking to myself in the mirror. But it was like, I saw Katharyn do stand up at Fringe one time, the first time, and I was just like, and again, I'll say it again. I know Katharyn hates when I say this. It didn't go well that night.
Oh yeah.
It was in
Thank
this,
you.
yeah,
Love this memory.
Sorry, Katharyn too has had bad sets. Can you believe it? But it was like, not a great set. But I was like, you just see someone, you're like, oh, like I like you. And what you're talking about is like, and that's probably why you like Erika, Katharyn, because it's like, she was talking about really full on stuff, working in a sex dungeon and her taxidermy dog and all this stuff. And people were like, like they didn't know what to do. It was a really small space. She's right there, kind of like Katharyn, just in like a leather jacket and like moving her head like this a lot, and like they were like, well, and I was like, you fucking dumb unicorn bitch who I love, she's also kind of hot, which I never like hot women. I'm like, oh, what's that like for you? Oh, that's nice that you get to just be hot. But what I've said is that she's too neurotic to enjoy it. So that makes me feel a bit better about it. But that's how you see that in someone and you go, I want to be friends with you. And I'll even smile at you if that's what is necessary. What's your friend's name again? Bria.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bria would have seen you in the back when she delivered like a killer joke and you'd go, and she's like, I think she likes me.
Yeah. I find like if a comic's newer and I really do like them, I do make an effort to let them know that they did well. Like just because like I think when that happened, when I was like brand new, that meant so much to me.
Yeah.
So I always try to like, do that as well.
Do you feel like you do it more for women too?
I think so. I think I think is like I also feel like anytime a male comic gave me a comment, I would always be like, there's an ulterior motive here.
Yeah. I'm not gonna fuck you. Yeah.
So.
But give me a ride home. No, okay. I think we have to go in a minute, but everything in me, all of my instincts are saying don't do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway just to see what happens. Do you have anything that because it's like the worst?
I'm actually excited now.
Are you?
Do you have anything nice to say? Do you have anything nice to say
that you envy in us? Yeah. Because I'm just like, don't make her do this, and her to go, no. But also I'm just like, but I really want it. I want to see what happens.
Well, for Katharyn, I always envied your style. Like I always really liked the way that you were dressed. And then also like, how lucky of you to have found love during like the worst time of like that's so I that's something I'm like genuinely jealous of to I've never like I for one have never had like a boyfriend or anything like that. So whenever I see couples together who both partners I genuinely like, it's always like, okay, sick, I'll be like to perv on them.
They have videos too if you kind of subscribe, so
yeah.
Hilarious. Hilarious. But do you think I'm funny? I just need you to say.
I know. I was like, she really wants that.
I'm like, if she doesn't.
Of course. Like, I mean, yeah.
I know you. If you, it's like even if you don't, you had to lie to me just then because I'm like going through stuff. Like So.
Yeah, I was like, don't say the wrong thing because we won't be able to do another podcast if you say no.
I don't really. I mean. Unfortunately, I don't really, not unfortunately, I don't really I try not to, I'm going to sound like such a dick. I don't really try to surround myself with people I don't find funny because I do feel that it affects me unless, but I will put up with it if they have something that I can get from them, like, stage time. But other than that,
so you're a comic,
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, you want to be around people who you enjoy too, like who it's like whenever someone's like super annoying or like I don't particularly find funny, there's like it's like I don't really want to be around them. Like, and my friend has like a different attitude about that. It's like, oh well, they're not that funny, but they're still like a nice person. It's like, yeah, but what value like I know it's like really mean to put that on, but it's like not even value to like my career, but what value do they add to this conversation? I'm just gonna get annoyed. Like if you can't keep up, even if you're not a comic, but if you can't keep up with like whatever we're talking about, I get a little tired of like having to
slow down.
slow down or explain. Like even my friends who aren't comics, I'd say that they're very worldly and funny.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is it hard at parties? Sometimes I used to find it.
Wait, no. Happens. It's my turn to get a compliment. Fuck you for a change.
Well, we haven't forgotten about the compliment. We haven't forgotten. I'm giving it a little more time
hard
to think
at parties
being. Well, no, but I would find it exhausting sometimes. You're like, hey, punch it up, people. Like let's make this story about your workday at all interesting. And then it became kind of impossible to enjoy normal experiences since, normal people aren't funny or interesting. Yeah.
Well, I haven't had that so much, mostly because I don't really have like parties that aren't like
funny people.
Most house parties I go to are like either friends from like really close friends from high school or comics. So there's not really any in between from that. So, but I mean, I'm sure if I was invited to like a work party, I just didn't go because I just was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to enjoy that. So.
Do you have a compliment for my ceramics teacher that needs it?
Well, I've only met you now, but you seem like very like easygoing, which I always like about people, and you can really drive a conversation well. So outside of that, I can't give you anything more.
That's all right. It's okay.
I don't really know yet.
That's enough for me. You're so right. I'm very easygoing, very cool. I have a great orange shirt on. I'm very humble, obviously. I don't know. I like people to feel at ease.
It's a good quality. Like I don't like, obviously as proven, I don't give that off. So
no, Erika, I don't think that's true. I don't know. I guess I went through a lot of therapy when I was younger. Now, I don't know if that makes you put people at ease. I mean, maybe it should be the opposite. Maybe I shouldn't care as much about how other people are doing.
But that's the name of the podcast. We do care about how other people are doing. That's it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's Katharyn and I were talking about this the other day about being able to influence a conversation when other people can't. Like people I grew up around didn't have that ability. They would just be like dying inside and unable to break the tension, and so it's like very important to me. I'm just like, I'm taking a second to really relish in the compliment, even though it was like extracted, you know what I mean? Like just so what's one thing you can say? And now I'm like, that really came from the heart. I can feel it. And you're right. But anyway,
I am easygoing, but well, I guess
what were you going to say, Erika? So Erika's about to say something.
Oh no, I had nothing to say.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Do you want another one? I can probably try and say.
No. You don't have to. No. My hair today is pretty on fleek, I think. But anyway, yeah. Katharyn.
Is there anything you want to plug? Like I was just gonna tell people to watch your stand-up, but is there anything you specifically want to plug?
I guess just my socials. Yeah. I've not got anything going on at the moment. So yeah, just Twitter and Instagram if you enjoyed.
And your handle?
Erika Ehler. It's just like, Erika Ehler on both.
Yeah, because people with dyslexia can't spell your name. I'll tell you that much. So I'm glad you did. Yeah.
Well, I was looking at your Twitter today, and I was like, this is very funny. And then there was like this I saw the thing that you said about Zoom, and you got like torn apart for making fun of comics who are promoting Zoom shows or TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's this little like comment from Katharyn, like, I'm on your side, just like so late. I was like, oh my God.
You're the only person I do this shit for. I literally, I don't know why. I think it's just like, I'm not your mom, but I love it like I am,
I do appreciate it. Like, I remember I was at Hannah's house when this was all happening, and I was like, oh, Katharyn's getting involved. She just goes without missing a beat. She's like, I love her. Like, it's like, she kind of said, like, you don't have to worry now, Erika. And I was like, you're right, I don't.
Yeah, my drugged up mom is getting involved.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I used to be a bully on the internet before when it was the Wild Wild West, so it's in me, It's just, but it's real rusty. It's very mom shit. Like I didn't even know how to reply properly on Twitter, but I tried to figure it out. So I made sure to send it to this guy with like 13 followers who like said something nasty to you. I was like, oh, let me know that I'm going to make sure your dick is tiny by the end of this,
That was such a fucking ridiculous thing to see people get upset about. I was like, yeah, I mean, it was so funny. You were saying that it was lame for comics to promote.
It's because so what happened there was a comic who has a much bigger following than me mistook me going after one of his friends. That's what he thought had happened. But I was just making a general observation because I had seen comics in the UK do it, comics in North America do it.
Everywhere.
People were promoting their Zoom shows on TikTok. So they're like,
they were like how to do TikTok, comedy, like just basically a TikTok course, but online.
Yeah.
Just like, fine, you can do what you want.
Yeah. And you're just making fun of it.
Yeah. It's TikTok. TikTok is so silly. I've used that as a punchline so many times, but yeah, anyway.
Well, and then people got defensive. They were like, oh, well, you should be happy that comics are trying to work during the pandemic. And you're like, whoa, like I make fun of everybody. Sorry that I made fun of comics.
I mean, they should hear what you say about your mom,
Yeah.
I mean,
the
it's
person who birthed you. Yeah.
But I do think it's very, if I'm being honest, that's a very comedian thing, like thinking like you're talking about them or very specific, you know what I mean? Like,
it's about me. Also, like Hannah brought this up. So, I mean, like I say sex pest in the tweet and all these dudes were like, you're talking about my friend. It's like, do you know something we don't know?
Yeah.
It's
thank you for doing this. Thanks for weathering this.
I swear to God, I hope you had fun. I'm sorry.
I did.
I don't believe you.
After we get off this call and Katharyn and I are going to talk about it, she's going to spiral. And I want you to know that now.
Correct.
She's already been spiraling the whole time and I can see it because I've just really gotten to know Katharyn's spirals. I'm going to go, I think she liked it. And it's just a podcast anyway. And she's gonna go, but you don't understand. Erika Ehler is like so important to me. Blah, blah. So this is, so I just want you to know that it's cool that you're just yourself and you don't smile at people all the time and stuff like that. But I want you to know that I'm gonna have to deal with the fallout from this. So
you have like cult power. Do you know what I mean? That's what I really feel like. I hope you choose to use it for good, but I feel like the energy you give off, you could very much find people in a vulnerable position and then just start dictating the way they live their life based on your ability to not smile or smile at them at any given moment. I'm just letting you know that right now. It's alarming.
I think you found the first member right here. Tell her you want her to send her your money and she'll fucking do it. She doesn't even have any money, but she'll send you what she has.
I'll find it. I got feet pics that need selling if you need money, my friend.
Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this. If you're listening, follow the pod at Everyone's Doing Better. Follow Katharyn at Ill Girl You Nasty. Follow me at Eve Elbow. Follow Erika, at Erika Ehler. On Instagram, on Twitter. Thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're great. I like that this whole time it's the most insecure I've ever felt while doing this podcast, but it's a good, refreshing. It's good. It's like bombing after like a hot streak, and then you're like, I'm just a person and I can't think that that I just deserve to do well all the time. But I enjoyed it.
Well, there you go. Now maybe I should start a service where it's like, if you want to feel bad,
No, if you want to be humbled, talk to me.
Yes. Yeah. And then write a couple roast jokes about each person, which are also very cutting. Check out her roasts. They're fucking ridiculous.
And then those people have to sit there naked and listen to you roast them. That's what that's,
what you've done to two adult women. That's what you've done. So,
all right. I'm going to end this recording, but here we go.